Welcome to the Magic Academy. Today's discussion, Coven versus Tribes, Wicca versus Gypsy. Stay tuned. Welcome back. I'm Celestial Petals. You have tuned into the Magic Academy. I'm so excited about this discussion. This is one that we absolutely need to go over. It's something that is like the bigger picture of kind of, you know, this whole belief and coven philosophy. Okay? Anything other than solitaire. So if you practice alone, then this is something that will also be good because it'll give you an understanding of, the classifications of groups, and if you want to study in a group, and what kind of groups you might be walking into as you're growing your studies. So here we are. Now, first of all, when I say coven versus tribe and Wicca versus Gypsy, I'm not talking about like which one's better. Of course, in this discussion, that's up to you to decide. But more or less what we're discussing here is what is the difference between both. Okay? Now, we will start with coven versus tribe. Why? Because coven versus tribe explains the difference between groups and communities in the magical world. And there's some other words I'll throw in there as well, some other classifications of groups as well, like gangs, biker gangs, same thing, gangs, biker gangs, other groups and classifications as well. So we'll cover those also. But first, what is a coven? We've kind of gone over this a little bit before. A coven is just a small group. It starts off as just a small group. Covens can be large or they can be a small group. I need to give you that classification as well. So don't misunderstand me. When I say covens are a small group, that might be one small group and maybe linked to other small groups that make up a total of a very large group or community, similar to a tribe, if you get where I'm going with that. But that's, similar. So a coven typically is 13 people, okay? And it has a high priestess and a high priest amongst that 13 people, that tally. Does it have to be 13 people? No. But you will find many books out there that explain if you want to start a coven, it's good to start with 13 people. And they tell you to diversify and branch the group out into so you both have a group if you start growing larger than your 13 number. So if you get to 26, they tell you to branch out. Just to keep it small and powerful within the circle, a good energy circle. That's one philosophy, one belief. Is that how it goes? No, it isn't. For some, maybe, but no. Typically, no. It's just like a church nowadays. People can gather, doors open amongst those who have been, invited. And it can be a large service or a small service to celebrate. Why do covens gather? They celebrate the holy days, as well as rites of passage in life, in the cycle of life. So our holy days are the wheel of the year, which revolve around the sun's lifespan throughout the year, the seasons, okay? And secondly, it is the 13 moons, the cycles of the moon in a year. So you'll gather for full moons, sometimes the new moon, sometimes, depending on if there's a really powerful um, other phase, you'll meet for those. It just depends. But you'll gather for moon gatherings, okay? But mostly for your full moons and your new moons are the two main ones that you'll gather for moon cycles. Other than that, you'll gather for hand fastings, births, deaths, and other rites of passages, or if there's something important that a member is facing and the group wants to gather to help that person's life or challenge or blessing. So those are other reasons why they'll gather. And those are invitation based only. So, the standing ones that are open to the members of the coven will be your Esbats or Sabbats, your Wheel of the Year or your silver wheel, your moon cycles. Okay, not to be long-winded, so that is what a coven is about. That's what they gather about. They support the cycle of life, death, and rebirth in nature and within the members of the coven. Okay, that's its purpose. So what about magic? Who teaches magic? If within a coven, that is up to the person to start learning. And what kind of magic they want to learn is, again, up to the person. And they can be guided by your instructors, your hierarchy, your high priest or your priest. They can teach you as well. They will offer books. Some covens are associated with a bookstore in your community. So you'll be able to pick up readings, reading material and so on from the coven leaders. Sometimes they're associated with, a used bookstore, whatever. So a lot of times your learning in magic can be up to you. Or if they offer classes on tarot, classes on candle magic, or classes on raising power. It just depends. Now, some covens are very tight about their learning experience, and they have very good magical teachers, and they will teach their members. It's up to you to show up, but they will teach their members based on, so they'll have these classes, and if you take them, you pay for them, you take them, and you pass them, and you pass the requirements, then, you need so many of those magical classes, under your belt, in your certificates, in order to gain your degrees. And after so many degrees, then like first degree, second degree, third degree, so on, then you can actually train to become a high priest or high priestess yourself after you've had those learnings within the coven, as the coven teaches them. That's one of the big reasons why covens offer those, is because every coven believes differently in how magic is performed, what's necessary, just like, for example, a pendulum. Many people believe, in the books that say a pendulum is based on, the energy within yourself only, that it is a magnetic vibe that's going on with the pendulum, and you are making it move. That you are making this pendulum move. And other schools of thought are more like mine, which is that it is your spirit guide, and your energy working together that gives this energy that helps find the answers that you're looking for. Okay? Like working with a counselor, you're working with a fairy guide, or your guide, your spirit guide, with the use of an aid, which is your pendulum. And there's other schools of thought as well. So there's so many schools of thought. And I am telling you, the people that believe in the magnetic polarism within a pendulum do not believe in spirit guides moving your pendulum. They absolutely fear it. oppose it, they don't believe in it. So it just depends on the coven you're with. What do they believe in? Are they more scientific based, which is what that is, or are they more spiritual based? It's kind of up to you to see what your coven is. Okay, so that is what a coven is. What is a tribe? A tribe is a community that has grown from a coven. The coven's gotten very large. There's many covens within the tribe. You know, it's basically like a community of believers. In other words, you could start your own city, your own small town, your own trailer park. You've become a tribe. So you exist of many, many, many members. And many of those members are family formed. So, family and friend associated. So they'll have, mother, father, daughter, son, grandparents within that within the tribe, within the coven, just a lineage within there. So those are basically what a tribe is. And how does a tribe celebrate differently than a coven? Well, a tribe also is a collective government of the people. So, in other words, you have a government going on within the tribe, separate from, your government. You agree to have a government separate from the United States government, based off of the laws of the land where you live, basically. Usually. Some tribes oppose the laws of the land where they live. They don't agree with them. But I prefer covens that do agree with them. It just makes it easier. And you basically take care of concerns within the coven. So if, somebody dents somebody's fender, then, your coven leaders help make sure that stuff gets taken care of. If you guys want to keep it off the record, they help you do that. They make sure you both agree on it. They mediate. They mediate with it, troubles or good circumstances or whatever, justices within the tribe, within the larger coven, within the community of the coven. And I will say, some of these coven tribes do not allow you to disagree with the final rule of your high priestess, your high priest, the governing hierarchy within that tribe. You're not allowed to disagree with it. If you do oppose it, if you do disagree with it, in other words, what they say, their ruling, how they decide is it. And sometimes they will typically handle each of you differently. They'll go to one person and handle it, and they'll go to the other person and handle it. It may look like it's been handled two different ways. That's probably because they're going to pick up the slack of how it's different. Somebody's making the amends that the other person isn't within the hierarchy. The hierarchy steps in and is that cushion, is that cover with what the other person won't do. So for instance, if you have a fender bender, let's just say that's the thing, and you guys don't want it on your record, but it was within the two families within the coven. Joe hit Frank's bumper. Then they get together, they discuss personal responsibility, they decide, who's responsible, who needs to pay, how it will be paid. So they fact find, basically, and try to find out who was responsible. They try to be just, usually, typically. And if so-and-so if Joe doesn't have the money to pay for it, and they still want to keep it off the record, but Frank absolutely has to have it done, then the hierarchy finds a way within the community, people that volunteer, people that help, people that donate, that are going to pick up that slack that Joe can't do. It's a way, it's how the coven covers its members as a whole. The members cover each other by volunteering and lending that to the hierarchy, and the hierarchy uses that to help as it's needed. So Frank gets his bumper fixed, doesn't even need to know that Joe couldn't do it. Joe doesn't even need to know who helped at all. The leaders just let him know, basically, we're handling this for you. Please go about it this way, and it's done. And if it's brought up again, it's just, you don't bring up what they tell you not to bring up. If you do, you're going to get shunned. Okay, so what is being shunned? Being shunned is from a small degree to a large degree. Being shunned is basically, getting ignored at first. Your requests will get ignored. People won't be rushing to shake your hand. The most important people won't be rushing to shake your hand or meet you. You will feel outed. And if you're going to be shunned as far as like being excommunicated because what you've done is so huge, then, you are gone. And some covens, depending on their practice, really can shun you in a way that they don't even want you remembering them, so it's life changing. So, make sure you understand how a tribe or a coven that tries to govern its people handles the tough subjects, handles shunning, handles all of that before you take your vows or your dedications, because you don't want to be within a coven that wants to kick your butt, tar and feather you as you're leaving, basically. Unless you do, unless that's the kind of dedication you think you can handle. I think that's too severe. I don't think that people are just, that's a bit harsh. So, depending on the person's mistake, yeah, I can see where that might be warranted. But, get to know it, understand at what degree something like that would happen and what that something is. Okay? So you want to know that beforehand. Okay, so now we've covered what a coven is and what a tribe is. Now, how big can a tribe get? Now, that's what I'm trying to explain here when I say Wicca versus Gypsy. I'm not saying, is Wicca better than being a Gypsy? Because first off, Wicca is from one part of the world and being a Gypsy is from another part of the world. In some people's opinion, not the case. Sorry about that. There are gypsies and gypsy classifications. In other words, vagabond style of tribes from every part of the world, from Africa to Israel, 12 tribes of Israel, they all, tents, all that stuff, Italy, Greece, the UK, Britain, Ireland, Scotland, all over, Netherlands, everywhere. Every Viking area, every Russian area, everywhere in the world, from Asia's everywhere, we have vagabond style of people, that nomads, that some people consider the gypsy lifestyle. Okay? They want to live free. They live by their own rules. It's a larger scenario of tribe. It's a tribe, but it, and functions like a coven, but not always within the confines of society. Okay? A little bit on the outside of what society does. So, but those are everywhere. Everybody has a gypsy. But not all gypsies are equal, just like all witchcrafts are not equal. Okay? There's witches everywhere, but a voodoo witch is not the same thing as a Wiccan witch. Okay, so now, so how big can a tribe get? A tribe is basically what a prehistoric city was. Okay, so it started with a group of people that shared a common idea, that worked well together, that supported each other, and learned to gather and hunt together. Um, then they learned to farm together. Then they learned to build houses together, and they learned to grow lineages and families um, that populated an area and became quite large, and thus became a city. And that city supported um, you know, homes, um, a government, a money cycle or a food ration cycle, a working cycle that everybody had to work, everybody had to participation cycles. So that is, our early cities and our early um, prehistory groups and tribes, or what we're talking about. That's how people gather. So in other words, you can become your own little town, your own little city, state, and country, basically by growing a tribe. Um, Not very easy to do, not very easy to govern. What holds them together? The lineage, the bloodline lineage. That's what holds tribes together because the government, the support, what they get out of it, what they pour into it, and the fact that, it's something their father did, it's something their brother does, it's something they've taught their kids to do. So they're in it forever. It's what they do. It's become part of, their bloodline now. So those are the things that hold it together. It can grow as large as many families that the system or the government that of the tribe can handle, the beliefs can handle. Um, so what's the difference then between a tribe and a gypsy tribe? A regular tribe, a Wiccan tribe versus a gypsy tribe? Really not much. There are many gypsy tribes out there that from all over the world. I don't really know anything about them, but they they have witchcrafts, they have Christianities, they have everything within them, just like a city does. They're mobile, not always. They have some stationaries as well, um, and they can be positioned all around the world, just like a family can. Um, Another group or an association that is similar to what we're talking about here are gangs or biker gangs. These kind of things, let me turn the page here. Parties, assemblies, circles, clubs, okay, troops, an outfit, a circle of people, an assembly. So all of those things can be considered a gang. Now, just like a basic coven is considered like a gang. But when we get into biker gangs or basic street gangs, we're talking about people that are criminals. They've grouped together and they support themselves with crime outside of the law. Okay, so that's another thing too. You want to find a coven that doesn't act like a gang, a tribe that doesn't act like a gang, supporting themselves with means outside the law. That's really important. Um, you know, you want to find a coven that's harm-free, and harm none. And to do that, I can't see anyone supporting crime as a means to support themselves, just so they can stay a group or a coven, whether it's bank robbery, drug selling, prostitution, I don't even know how bad it can get. Just basic, swindling. There's so many sleight of hands and so many kinds of crimes out there. But you want to be in a tribe that doesn't do that. That because that's not the cycle of nature. It's not the cycle of magic. And if you're in a tribe that's doing that, then they aren't teaching you magic. It's not how the world is. It's really not, magically speaking, it's not how it is. So if you want to be a part of magic and you want to be a magical person, your tribe and your coven, has to be crime-free and support the cycle of the earth, harm none as well. And I don't mean they can't take care of themselves to some degree, but within the law. And I don't mean within the law of the coven. I mean within the law of the land that you abide in. I think that's important. To each their own, I guess. But okay, so what have we covered? I don't want to get off too much on telling you what to do. I'm just saying those are some things to think about. We've covered what is the difference between a coven and a tribe, how large a tribe can get, how large a coven can get, some of the basic functions, some of the basic purposes of those. And then we've covered the difference between being Wiccan and being Gypsy, and if there's Wiccan Gypsies, okay, which is very good. I'm glad we covered all of that. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'm sure I can discuss some more on this subject for you. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Leave your comments below and your questions below, and I will update this video with the answers. Blessed be. Happy tribing. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Also, if you're looking for more, go ahead and click the image in the center. That'll take you to all my playlists, and you can find me on my social media in the description below.